Recording.
Amazing. Katerina, Satori, welcome to the show, babe. I'm so excited to have you.
I'm so excited that we get to connect on a soul level and let amazing people see our conversation and hear our conversation and let people in our lives. Yeah.
We're going to go deep because that's all we do.
I think we're such deep divers. Where is that pearl? I am diving in again. Yeah.
Totally. I love whenever I get to be with you. It's always magical. So I'm so excited you're here, and I'd love to hear about your journey and share some wisdom for the women that are watching and smart men that love to really live their authentic self and have the courage to follow their dreams, even though we're like, how is it going to happen? Or, you know, the limiting BS, the belief systems come up that we're being called to work through. And so I know that when you share about your journey, we get to learn so much from it. So I love your posts. Everything is always so spot on, and it's timely and relevant, which is always really cool. And so what brought you to be on this spiritual path of knowing that there's more than just what meets the eye?
Yeah. Well, where would I begin? First of all, I really believe we all have a feeling deep inside our soul there is something more for us. Mm-hmm. And some of us will trust that feeling sooner, and some will wait until life just slaps us around, and be like, okay, now I can trust this feeling a little bit deeper. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was both. Like from the very early age, I knew there was a bigger assignment for me. Like I had this awareness, there is a higher purpose, there is a higher assignment. I was born and raised in Soviet Russia. And, in a very, very simple family, single mother, just not spiritual at all, not a spiritual background, not a spiritual kind of upbringing, but I had this natural connection with spirit. And I found myself at 5 years old, putting my little hands in the prayer position, and just like natural, this draw to spirit. So I think that's a natural inclination in the human heart to reach out and connect to the soul. And so that was there, and I kind of cultivated and built my relationship with my faith on my own, and always looking for books and any role models that help me and guide me on the path. And I knew from an early age that Russia was not meant to be my permanent home. It was meant to help me build the stamina that is so required for the path of entrepreneurship, right? So I really felt like that was my first life boot camp in Russia. And it was preparing me for what I'm doing right now. And it's so amazing because I always share that with people, that sometimes when you don't know what you're here to do, trust that you are still in the process of training, and life trains you. And when you're ready, you will arrive to that clarity if you sincerely desire to know what you're here to do. Like for me, it was always a quest, like what's my life purpose? What's my true place in the world? Yes. And so I was always on the search, Nikki. I was always on a life quest. Kind of like that alchemist story, like when the little shepherd boy from the Alchemist book by Paulo Coelho. Every time I reread that book, I cry because it just moves me so deeply. It's like we all have that treasure that we have dreams about, we have, past life memories about, that we're looking for. And the more we trust where our heart guides us, yes, we realize that the heart will guide us to where we truly belong. Yes. So it's just really being guided by your spirit. I came from nothing. I came to this country with $3 to my pocket and big dreams and big desires. And I was very determined to find my calling.
Mm.
When 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 I found this world of, like you and I, in the world of sharing a message, when I found that, I feel like I found that right fit, of service, contribution, and a natural talent. And that's what I am devoted to, supporting others, and how I met you for the first time. I love the story so much because it was almost like 5 years ago. I think it was 5 years ago. When did you get engaged?
The official one, because you know me and Maverick got married in 2 hours after knowing each other, but then he decided to do the whole ring proposal thing years later. So that was 2012.
Aha.
So what year is it now? Yeah.
So that was
7
2012.
years. 7 years ago.
Okay, honey. So that's the first time I met you, was 7 years ago, where randomly, this is how serendipitous life is. Randomly, I was on Facebook and I see your video, how you and your beloved proposing you, and I'm like, who is this girl? But I don't know who she is, but I feel like I recognize her.
Oh.
And I remember saying that I want that kind of happiness, because I could tell from just watching you that you were living your purpose, and you were, fully expressed in your dharma. And almost like the 7 years ago, I saw that blueprint in you. And I was like, I want that kind of expression. I want that kind of happiness. And it's so funny because you had no idea about this, right? And 7 years later, I meet you in person. How amazing is that?
So beautiful. Oh my gosh. Oh, thanks for sharing that again here.
I love it.
I love it so much. Oh, and I love everything you shared, that we all have this purpose. We all have a calling. And sometimes I feel like women and men get stuck in the hardships and in the things aren't going the way we want them to. But it's so funny because then one day we look back and we're like, oh my God, it all makes sense. Like everything that I've ever been through makes sense now. And it's like gaining that wisdom, because we usually get the most wisdom in the most challenging times, right? So when you moved out to California and you only had $3 to your name, what did you do to survive? Were you in a job that maybe you were like, okay, I'm going to do this, even though I know there's something bigger? Like, was there a little chapter where you were like, okay, I'm going to survive, right? I'm going to have food on my plate and a roof over my head. Tell me a little bit about your mentality and what you did to get through that, to not give up on your dreams.
Yeah, it was such a powerful moment for me, darling, to trust everything that what life was giving me. That was almost 14 years ago when I came. It was $3, right? And my very first job was literally scrubbing floors in Alaska hotels.
Wow.
And what it taught me is, my mother, I'm so grateful to my mother, because my mom, like, if you met my mom, Nikki, she's like such a tomboy. She never had a mani-pedi in her life, she grew up just knowing hard work and just like, will and determination. But what she taught me, she would say, Katerina, you either do something well or you don't touch it at all. And she instilled that work ethic in me, so when my very first job was scrubbing floors, I did it with dignity. And I never saw that any job is beneath me. It's something that you do, and because you're trusted with little at first, right? And then how Jim Rohn teaches us, the grandfather of self-development, you trust it a little bit, but how you show up, universe rewards you with bigger opportunities. and I just kind of got it right away, you know. So that was my first job, the housekeeping. I did it for 1 month, and I was like, I am going crazy here with these mops and rooms and sponges. I gotta, I gotta find something different, you know. So I went on the street in a little Alaska town where I was for the summer, and I start going from business to business, literally saying, hey, I'm Katerina. I'm here for the summer. Would you like any help in your business or in your store? And immediately in 2 hours, I got 2 new jobs. One was selling trinkets, and another one selling, taking orders like in the pizza shop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the key lesson was that, you know, you do your job with dignity, but also be brave and ask for more.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, that was a key lesson for me. And after that, you know, it was serendipity after serendipity. I was so enthusiastic selling those trinkets that a business partner of the owner of the gift shop noticed me. He's like, who is this girl over there selling ornaments with enthusiastic energy? And he called me up and he offered me to run his jewelry store next year. So it was just like, this the main teaching. What it taught me is that on the way to your dream, you being asked to do these stepping stone experiences
Mm.
that are teaching you to humble your ego, to build your resilience, to build up your determination, right? And more than anything, to test your character,
Mm.
how you show up in little. If you cannot show up with full integrity in little, how will anything bigger ever be trusted to you?
Yes. Oh my God, the chills, girlfriend. This is so good. Oh, it's so golden. You ever notice, like, when you go out to a restaurant and the waitress is like, oh, I hate being a waitress, and it changes the whole experience versus someone who's like, hey, how are you? And they're in themselves and they're grateful to be there and to be alive, and knowing that there's more, but they're also happy to be there. It changes the energy of the experience. And I love that you pointed that out, to like be fully you, no matter what the role is, no matter what the job is that you're doing, to as a stepping stone.
I love that, darling. I love that so much. I was reading, you know, one of my friends gave me this amazing book of wisdom of Buddhist teachings.
Mm-hmm.
One of the teachings was saying that one of the most, it didn't say challenging, but it was like a true test of a character
Mm-hmm.
is your ability to see a task at hand as a noble assignment.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes.
And you know, that really just, it landed for me. You
Yes.
know, like everything, like moment by moment, next assignment is the most noble
Mm.
thing that you can do, right?
Oh my God, I love this. I remember the moment when I had that shift when I was washing dishes. I used to hate washing dishes. And then I finally was like, oh my God, this warm water feels really good on my hands. And ooh, and I became really present and grateful to just be alive, to have hot water, to have plates that had food on them that now I'm washing. And it's like, to all the mamas out there who are constantly doing laundry and constantly insiding out clothes, pulling out the undies that are just stuck in there every single time. Can we find the joy in like, what's the word? Taking them inside out, taking the undies out of the pants, putting the load of wash in with a smile on our face. Not that it's a task, but a noble honor to be able to do this. I love that so much. It changes the whole energy of the home. And especially women, we're like the heart of the family. You know what I mean? And if we can get our heart right and feel really grateful for another day, for being alive, for doing laundry and the dishes, it's like, wow, no matter what is the day holds, can we have that gratitude and honor? I love that. Yeah.
I remember how Wayne Dyer said, when we change the way we look at the world begins to change. You know, that's why I love the work of like Byron Katie and Wayne Dyer. They always
Mhm.
They always help me to drop that complaining egoic consciousness and get into the heart space, which the heart space only knows how to appreciate and how to find beauty, and find sacredness in the ordinary. I think, Nikki, that's the biggest epiphany that
Yeah.
I'm arriving, that awakening is coming to acceptance of ordinaries of
Oh,
life.
yes, totally. I don't know what your clientele is like, but a lot of my clients, they've been billionaires, celebrities, multimillionaires, and they have all the fancy fancies, right? And it's like that doesn't bring the happiness. It's being barefoot on the public beach, watching the child splash freely in the water naked. Like, oh my God, so free and innocent. It's the little ordinary things that actually inspires all of our hearts, that makes us go, oh my gosh, this is really blissful.
Mhm.
It's like the fancy Maserati and all that stuff. Yeah, it's fun for a moment, but when people seek that happiness inside of things externally, it's a trap. It's a trap. There's never enough.
Yeah, yeah, you're so right, darling. I live in Orange County, Laguna Beach. I see that a lot, and there's nothing wrong about receiving luxurious experiences if
Totally.
that's what you desire to experience, but it's
Mhm.
the joy doesn't come from there. The joy
Right.
is how you see the moment, and where's your fulfillment coming from. Yeah,
Yes.
I so agree with you. And I feel like that's where, that's where the loving what is and embracing everything as a noble task, you just become such a peaceful person, radiating that, inner wholeness. It's
Hmm.
probably impossible to forget. People like, I don't know what about this person, but something about them feels so good. Yeah.
Totally. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Yes. Okay, so you had your little journey of being grateful for your jobs. How did you become now a coach and you help people get more into their path? How did the transition happen where you're like, oh my gosh, and did you have beliefs? I call it BS, the belief systems that are like, you can't do this. Did you have them come up in the beginning like many coaches do for the, first times of being like, oh my God, I'm going to charge for something that I just love doing? Did you have stories come up and how did you work through them?
Oh, such a great question. I love that, Han. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It was so funny because for several years, I was prepared for my calling, and when the time was right, my calling actually literally arrived to my doorstep.
Mm.
I was not searching for it, but I was at the conference. I was at the conference and I had a conversation with. I met this man who was a CEO, married with children and externally very, very happy life. And we just had a very good conversation about vulnerability and living in a heartful way, Brene Brown style. And we just dropped in for like a couple of hours. We talked
Mm.
and we exchanged information because we just had this really good connection. And then he called me. He said, I worked with the best of the best coaches, and something about our conversation was really powerful for me, so how can I hire you?
Oh, every coach's dream.
Oh my god. And I remember that moment. I was like, did not even skip the beat, and I was like, you know what, I would love to explore this with you. Let me put a few ideas together, and I'm gonna call you back. So when the opportunity comes, can you receive it?
Yes.
Yeah, and that came the journey. And for the first year, he was my first client,
Mm.
and I was doing my very first brand was holistic wellness and like natural detoxification, all of that. And he was my very first client, and and after that, I just kind of built up the courage to announce my very first group program. Oh my God, Nikki. And my very first group program was $97 for like, for like a 5-week program, and I was terrified to announce it. I thought I was charging so much.
Totally.
$97. This is a stretch, you know?
Totally.
So that's totally normal feeling for people who just entering this world. Yeah, it's like, it's vulnerable, it's courageous, it's brave. And I think it just happens in stages, and then I start seeing my people getting results, and I got more and more brave, and then I had this major shift after about a year of being a coach. I had a major shift of start seeing that, okay, I not only develop my skills as a coach, I get to parallelly develop my skills as an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the most powerful shift, to see that, hey, I cannot wait to be discovered. Mm-hmm. Hey, yes, it was a blessing that my first client asked me to work with them, but I have to be more proactive than this. Mm-hmm. So it was a big shift to see yourself as an entrepreneur. Yeah, that was a completely different new growth,
I love that. The two parallel paths. It's so true, because when you're doing what your dharma is, what you're feeling called deep in your soul and heart to do, you want to get it to the people who are crying out for it. They just don't know you exist. Mm-hmm. And so learning how to be an entrepreneur, really marketing and being okay with making yourself available, right? In a way where you're like, oh my God, I've had enough clients to know that this works, that I'm in my right path. And to receive. I love that. Yeah. It's quite a journey, huh?
It's a journey, darling. And like for our viewers, I'd like to offer this very powerful question that really just activates your creative mind, activates new possibilities. I believe in the powerful questions. I collect them, write them in my journal. So one of them is, what am I doing to be found? What actually am I doing today to be discovered in my dharma? And that's it. You wake up and you say, what would I love to do today to be actually found by the people who are looking for my soul medicine?
Yes, totally.
Right? And allow your intuitive guidance and your creative genius to begin responding. Mm-hmm. Journaling every day, staying with that question.
Totally. Yeah. And so first you obviously had to have the clarity of like what you do, right? And what you offer. And if someone's, they have a sense of it, someone watching, they have a sense of it, but they're like, oh, how do I articulate it? What kind of advice would you give them?
I would say just begin. Begin talking to your friends about your passions, and see if your friends or anybody who will be happy to listen to you, are they staying connecting? Are they catching what you're doing? Or are they zoning out and completely lost? Mm-hmm. So I would say practice on your friends, practice on anybody who will listen, and see, are you conveying it, right? Using the opportunities, and then utilize social media. The faster you get on social media, the faster you break that, that fear, that reservation of being visible. You can delete the live stream that didn't go well, you can delete the video, but start. I started, Nikki, before live streaming existed, right? So, and I remember like my first videos were so awkward, so people like, Katerina, you're so natural on camera. I'm like, if you've seen my first 200 videos, you would just laugh on the floor, So it's just begin where you're at. And, I see like this world is just like, if you said, Katerina, why don't you learn how to play piano, right? So as an adult, learning a new complex skill, it's a very vulnerable journey, because you feel inadequate. You feel like you can't get it right. You can't get it fast enough. So how much joy can you bring to the process, right? And you're like, oh, I got one key today. I got one today. Yeah, it's the same thing with this world, is it's going to be awkward. It's going to be deeply vulnerable. And if you become your best cheerleader and you celebrate every little, every little step that you took, you like, that was badass.
Yeah, totally. I love that so much. Oh my gosh. Celebrating is so key to really like keep going. Because you're like, oh wow, yeah, I did do that.
And one of my role models who I admire in our world, she always say, we all start from nothing. We all start with 0 followers, 0 email list, 0 everything. And I love that because that shows me like something common with humanity, that we all start with these insecurities, vulnerabilities. So we all start with taking a lot of risks. And those stories, are the best part. Like me, to tell you a story, my first client asked me to work and how I didn't skip the beat. This is a really juicy story to share, right? But if I would be hiding in the house, be like, I'm so not worthy even to go to the conference, even to be willing to be found out, that would never happen.
Totally. And it's not like one day you just make it. It's
No.
like even self-made multimillionaire entrepreneurs, they have their hardships where they lose everything. And then they just know, though, inside of them, they can do it again because they walk the path already. So I love that. Just start. And so I was the same with videos. It was like, oh my God, I was so nervous. And now everyone's like, you're so natural. I'm like, exactly. Just because you keep doing it. It's just like a baby walking, they fall, get back up and keep walking. And then they're running. It's like, whatever you're feeling called to do, people watching, is like, just start doing it. Start doing it.
Yeah, and you will get better, right? And you will get better and better. And then eventually you're like, I'm just doing it for the joy of it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Amen. I love that. So 14 years later, you're living in SoCal. Yeah, living it up.
In Laguna Beach. Yes.
Laguna Beach. And I love your live streams. Do you prepare for your live streams? Or are they mostly downloads? Like you just show up?
Downloads.
Okay, good. Inspire everyone watching to stop worrying about what they're going to talk about.
Complete downloads. Sometimes I will prepare like if I do a live stream that almost feels like a training.
Yeah.
I will do like 3 points. 3 points. And I will write it down on a little piece of paper. I'll be like, okay, point 1, point 2, point 3. And that anchors me so I don't go on too long of a tangents. But then I realize like the less I structure it, the easier it flows. And so no preparation at all. Just I do energetic preparation. That's very important to share because I do a chanting, I do a prayer, I invoke my spirit guides, I do all of these, inviting the gracing and inviting the transmission in a way, and preparing my vehicle, calming my nervous system, really tuning into who is this for. So from this perspective, I do a lot of preparation before one. So probably like 10 minutes I take in to do all these things. And then I go.
Yeah.
So, and then afterwards, I also have a ritual. So I don't carry too many energies. I've learned that too, because I'm naturally so empathic. I can imagine you too, right, darling? Yeah, I put the violet flame all around me. For those of you who may be not familiar, it's a multidimensional tool that dissolves anything that doesn't serve. I fall asleep with violet flame. I wake up with violet flame. Archangel Michael on one side, Archangel Metatron on another side.
I love it so much. So good. Yeah, find your rituals, everyone. When you're in your creative flow, is this something that like you're like, okay, I feel like a new program is being birthed through me or a new offering? What is your process like so that it comes out really from the divine instead of you pushing? And because I know yours are so inspired by spirit and inspired by something so much bigger. And so anyone watching that they're trying to put their course out there, or they are, but they're still in their like masculine push mode, what can you share with them to invite them to be more receptive of what their next project is versus being so heady about it?
I'm so happy you asked me that question, because there is really such a beautiful dance with our creativity is all divine feminine, right? It comes from our divine feminine, both from for men and for women, and how the feminine creates in cycles. And that was a big epiphany for me, because Nikki, I was in my warrior goddess archetype for so many years, and as a producer identity for so many years. I thought the only, like, I had to produce, and then I was like, I'm having the overdose effects.
Yeah.
I'm having a burnout after burnout. And then I realized, wow, feminine produces in cycles. The harvest, and then there is a winter, right? And there's a spring. So I'm looking at how nature creates. Nature is never in a rush. And I'm learning to create integration cycles. So because when you bring forward a course or a program, it's literally like you give birth to a creative baby, right? And it's so key to give yourself integration time, enough integration time, right? Right now, I just finished working with Ascended Master's course. It's like a mystery level school class, which was lasting for 2.5 months. And I'm taking about a month and a half for integration, where I'm not doing any live classes, even more, like 2 months. So, and then how do I know when I'm ready? Because you asked me that question. I asked this question. I do a lot of automated writing. I really do a lot of, I just trust my body knows much better than my mind. So I will ask a question. What would delight my soul to express next? And I'm looking for the frequency of joy. Not what would bring me profit next. That's easy, and it's really, I'm not really, I don't think that's the energy I want to lead with. I want to lead with delight. When I lead with delight, profit always comes with it.
Yes, totally.
Right?
Wow.
So that question, and don't rush the answer. Allow it to come in your dream. Allow it to come at you in the shower. You just be with the question, what would delight my heart to express next? And when it begins to download, I wish you could see it, Nikki. Maybe one day you come visit Laguna, you'll see. I have these big white pieces of paper all over my house, especially on the door, where the blueprints for different programs. Because what I find, the download comes because when you ask these creative questions, into the zone of genius, which is like the frequency field of genius, right? So the seeds come, and my job is to honor these genius ideas by capturing them on paper.
Heck yeah.
Right? So I will just put a blueprint, I'll put ideas, and then I will allow them to unfold. Sometimes I work on 3 different programs at the same time, just gently moving one a little bit, another a little bit. And sometimes I just focus on one program. But I think like showing the honor to your creative muse by capturing ideas.
Yes.
And what I find is the more brilliant the idea, the more you're going to doubt it. You're like, am I really worth it to launch this? Yes, because the idea is being magnetized to you. It's almost like an idea choosing you. Like, hey, you feel like a vehicle for me to incubate. Let's do this creative dance.
Oh, I got the chills. Yes. The idea is choose you at the right time. Oh, that's so good. I realized that for me, it's having the space to receive it, like you with the blank pieces of paper so that you can write it. That to me is having space. If you had posters all over your wall of art and paintings, there's nowhere to actually have the space. And so this is what I do a lot with my clients, like in the heart and the mind, is to like get rid of the resentment, the anger, the guilt, the shame, because it's taking up heavy space that joy and that love and that creativity is really wanting to live in. So it's like, if you come home, here's an example I give. If you come home with like a fresh bag of produce from the farmer's market, and your fridge is like filled with old moldy food, you have nowhere to put the new fresh stuff. So it's like the first step is clearing out the old stuff. And so I found that once I did really deep like clearing and soul washing, it was like, oh, the downloads are really happening, and I have the space to receive them, right? It's like the space is there. So you seem like you're in that space already, and I wanted to just kind of articulate the importance that I'm sure the work you've already done on transforming those things inside of you that were taking up space that weren't serving you subconsciously. You know?
Wow. I just love this metaphor about fridge. That is so good. I love it. May I use it and quote you on it?
Of course.
So
yeah,
good.
so good. It's a journey being an entrepreneur, huh? Like, because you are your business. You are who shows up. Whatever the idea is, it's going to be living in this vessel. And so you want this vessel to be decorated the way you want it to be, to feel the way you want it to feel. It's like your home, you know? So maybe there's some remodelings that are happening out there right now.
This is so good, darling. Yeah, and especially as a female entrepreneur, you know, it is something that I wish we women would talk more about, how we literally give birth to our creative projects. What's our post stratum period, right? That's what I call integration cycle. You give birth to a creative baby. You wouldn't go run and conceive another baby like right after you gave birth. That's just too much.
Totally.
Right? But if we come from the masculine old way of produce, because that's the only way you're valuable, that's how women short circuit their nervous system, women entrepreneurs, and they feel dried up.
Totally.
Right? So I wish I saw it a little bit sooner, but it's all divine perfection. I'm so glad I see it now.
You learned it well.
Yeah, I'm so glad I see it, you know, and then all it is divine feminine it requires trust.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes, Nikki, I find myself in a dried land of like no inspiration, which is very rare for me to be there. But when I do, I'm like, oh my God, will I ever find that, you know, that next level of inspiration? And I trust. I'm like, this is my lesson on trust. And this is my lesson on patience. And if it's not coming, it's because I haven't integrated yet from my previous creation. Yeah, and the wisdom of my body says, you got to integrate first. You got to clear out that fridge, right?
So good. I love that. The postpartum.
Right? Would you conceive a new baby right after you delivered one? No.
Totally. So good. Yeah. And the self-care is like a non-negotiable, being an entrepreneur and living your dharma, because it's so funny. One of my clients the other day, she says she sees everyone in the group as little kittens. She had this vision of little kittens drinking out of my saucer, because I always teach them to never serve, not even from a full cup, because you want to have an overflowing cup where they're drinking from the extra, right? It's like, and so many people are serving from this little cup that's so low, and then they're filled with resentment after, because they're like, I had no time or energy for myself. It's like, that's our responsibility to fill up our own cup, and then to serve from love and joy from that place overflowing. And so I know someone has to hear that right now, of how important and non-negotiable self-care is, if they want to be an entrepreneur, where it's not just like this year attempt thing, but it's a lifestyle that you choose to live for the rest of your life, because it's your calling.
Yeah, darling. That is such a powerful reflection that you said you serve from that extra. I think it's so amazing.
Yeah.
Then you serve with your natural magnetism, right? Then you're really in your feminine. You draw everything in.
Mm-hmm.
It's like nothing is missing. Well, that's what spiritual practice is for me, Nikki. That's why, like I will not even take anybody on the business as a business coach. I will not even take a client unless they have a very strong spiritual practice.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know the moment, we begin to accelerate, they're gonna fall apart with,
Mm-hmm.
with all the challenges of entrepreneurship. So I'm like, go put this in place first.
Good.
This is your anchor. This is your anchor, your spiritual anchor. And then how a woman shows up or a man shows up in such a different way when you have the deep spiritual practice daily. You don't go on a spiritual retreat once a year.
Right.
You have an anchor.
Yeah.
What's your anchor? And then you can go, and no stormy sea of life and entrepreneurship can throw you off balance because you're deeply rooted in your spirit.
Totally. Know who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Oh. Oh my goodness, I love you.
I love you.
Oh.
I love you. I love our story, how our souls, like, you one day you're gonna meet. You're gonna meet.
Totally.
It's so cool.
Totally. Just knew it.
So cool.
Oh my gosh. So is there anything that you are currently working on, or any way we can support you and anyone viewing this Soul Medicine show? How can they learn more about you?
That's so beautiful. I am you can find me on my personal Facebook page. I really dedicated my personal page to be the lighthouse of consciousness,
Mm,
constantly being inspiration,
mm,
guidance, encouragement, and support. And I would say around 70% of what I do is free. It's free value that I give, and through daily live streams, through teachings that I give away. And then
mm,
I have my signature programs that are also really accessible to everybody. One of them is frequency shift program, and the description is in my bio on Facebook page.
amazing.
And I really help people with removing generational suffering, like
Oh,
clearing up ancestral line,
mm,
letting go of those entanglements, and become energetically free, become
mm,
energetically sovereign, because that's the number one step. So I
yeah.
would recommend that's introduction to kind of the foundational work that I do, and it's super accessible for everybody and anybody. And that would be my first recommended step.
Amazing. I love that so much, babe.
Mm.
Aww. Any parting words you want to share? We shared so much. We covered so much wisdom. Um, Anything that you're feeling called to share with these women who are just so ready to live their dharma like next level and just do it with joy and with ease and with flow. Oh my gosh, I love when my clients, after they do some deep work or they come on a retreat. I have my next one in Costa Rica in March. I have 3 retreats in March. I'm so excited. Yeah, like back to back. It's gonna be awesome. But afterwards they're like, oh my God, I actually get to experience living what living in flow is. To experience serendipities and magic on a daily basis. And so for these women that want to live in that magic space more often, of receiving that flow, of knowing that the universe is so good, so benevolent, and that they can trust themselves and trust in the universe that they are right on path, is there anything that you feel called to send them off with? One last nugget.
Yeah, I love that, darling. Absolutely. I have this life mantra, and I love it so much. I even made a bracelet, and I put it on the bracelet, and it says, "Do you wait or do you create?" And
Mm,
what I mean by that, there is times for waiting where I sit and I wait and I wait and I wait. But what I mean by that, sometimes we wait for a better timing, or we wait for more support, or we wait for more courage. At any point, if you find yourself being stuck in waiting, it's not constructive waiting,
right.
ask yourself, what can I create right now with what I've got? Right? and the guiding question, what I'm creating right now? Am I creating beauty? Am I creating chaos? And you always like, what I'm doing to be found out. Do I wait? Do I create? Do I wait for better time on the horizon, or do I create with what I've got, knowing that the universe always rewards courage? Always. I've never seen an example where, you know, you exercise strong faith and the universe lets you down. You know, it's always, courage is rewarded, faith is always supported. And when the challenge comes into your life, I just invite people to see it as a great opportunity to strengthen your faith. And yeah, and then you can be like, I'm gonna create with what I have, and it's enough, and I am enough, and I'm gonna be courageous today, and I'm gonna celebrate that.
Oh, I love that. Am I going to wait or am I going to create? I love it.
Right?
So good. Yeah. And then creating becomes so much fun when that pressure isn't there, that you need to do it for money or you need to do it to survive, but you more do it because it's joy. And it, like we discussed already, it's like it brings you joy and delight. And it's like, this is incredible. This is my gifts. This is my path. And all the struggles I've been through, this is the wisdom I've gained. So now I can clearly articulate it very well. I can spot it. I can see through the maze to get through it shorter. Like, here's the shortcut because we went there already, right?
Right, darling. Yeah, that it's, you know, if you just create for the joy of creation, you take away that pressure. I'll tell you one more thing, because I'm working on my second book, and it's the most vulnerable one, and the most like where the demons of perfectionism are strong. I always look for what's the other way I can kind of uh, find a way to kind of overcome that. And I made agreement. I said, I'm gonna write this book imagining that I'll never gonna publish it. So I'm taking away the pressure completely. I'm just writing. I'm writing this book because of who I am going to become after I write this honest, raw, and real piece.
Oh my God, I love that so much. It's so relevant for us right now because Maverick is writing our love story. And at first there was so much pressure of like, oh my God, I want it to be a good book. And then I was like, we both were like, no, this can't be to be a good book. This is a gift. And he almost died again a couple months ago, and he was taken to the hospital, and they said he had 2 hours. He wouldn't have made it till morning, and they had to do an emergency surgery. And he said his only regret was that he didn't give me this gift of our love story in a book if he were to go. And so he's like, this is just going to be a gift to you. And it takes all the pressure off. And now he's just having so much fun allowing his inner romantic and poet to come out. And so what you just said is so true and so golden. Take the pressure off and just do it because you want to, because you've been called to, because you love to, right?
That's it. It's so interesting how we're tapping into the same level of, it's just liberating yourself from those thoughts and getting into that childlike joy of creation.
Totally. Like over the performance. Right? It's like just be and share what you're being called to share. And just start.
I love the performance, baby. So good. So good. I love you, darling. I just enjoyed it so much.
Oh, and everyone can catch the replay at soulmedicine.com, and I'll send it to you as well. I am so grateful. Thank you for all that you've shared and for being alive and in my life and just showing up so bright. And, you know, you get wisdom and you share it. And it's a beautiful lesson of abundance to me, of like, you know, there's many people that have a lot of money, but they hoard it. And that's not wealthy to me. It's like being in the flow of receiving, giving. It's a dance. And you're just such a beautiful example of being in that dance of like, ooh, getting a nugget and sharing it. And just like, I love you for that and so much more. But
thank you, Angel. I just adore you. And yes, for everybody who's going to watch the replay, just such a joy to share this. And I hope we do something like this again because I just love you.
Let's do it. I love you too, honey.
Bye, darling.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.